And good afternoon, everybody. Let me just move that microphone just out of the way there so you can't see it. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Lim. I'm the Managing Director and Head Coach here at Action Coach Bolton. And today's webinar is on marketing, and it's about making your marketing more effective. So we're going to get started. Now, we are recording this session for some people who aren't on the session. Just because I think it's important that people get the opportunity to read this back afterwards. We're going to go through a ton of stuff today, so we'll send you the link for the recording as well. And if you want to re-watch it again afterwards, we're going to get through a load of stuff. You might not have time to make lots of notes, but hopefully you got pad and pen at the side of you to take notes. We really want you to join in as much as you can. So if you've got questions, ask those questions, and put your hand up, or just put a question in the chat box. Just stick your questions in the chat box and we'll try and answer them as we're going along. As I say, we've got a lot to get through, so let's get started. So the most important words are on this front screen. It's clarity, focus, action, and results. Having clarity and some focus in what you're doing in any aspects of your business is vitally important. But more important than that is taking action. These webinars are great for giving you that information, but I always say to all of my clients, look, coaching sessions, training sessions, workshops, webinars, all of this stuff doesn't work. The only thing that works is if you do something about it afterwards. And that action is what will lead to you getting results. So it's really important that you write down some action points. If you get some BFOs, blinding flashes of the obvious, or you write down some action points, put a big red circle around your action points, and then clarify those down at the end of the session so you've got something to actually take away and implement in your business. Look, we're at the moment, we're in a situation where there's a lot of change around, and change is the one thing that is a constant now in business. If you're not changing, you're not growing. You know, somebody said to me that businesses are like trees. They're either growing or dying. If you're standing still, then you're dying. So how can you implement change in your business? How can you get an upward trajectory in your business and take advantage of those opportunities? You know, we often say that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, and that first step is the most important. So we want you to have some outcomes from today. We want those outcomes to be, you've got to have some learning. Hopefully we'll have a bit of fun. You're going to be coached. And the most important thing, as I said before, is that you take action to move your business and your life forwards. Now, we've got two choices when it comes to what we do with regards to marketing and every aspect of our business. You can choose to sit and wait, or you can choose proactivity. You can choose to start doing something, start implementing change, start implementing growth strategies, start doing something, or you can sit and wait. Now, we've got a formula for change. We've got a formula that will help you to move forwards, whether it's your life or whether it's your business. And this formula looks complex, but is actually quite simple. And it's this: D times V plus F has got to be greater than R. Now, I'm going to give you a clue, because that R stands for resistance. It's our resistance to change. So what I'd like you to do is just see if you can have a guess at what you think the D, the V, and the F stand for. Let's have some participation. Put in the chat box what you think the D, the V, or the F stands for in this equation. It's got to be greater than the resistance that you've got to overcome change. So let's have some guesses. Let's have some participation. We've got some people on the call. What do you think the D, the V, and the F stand for? You know, let's have some participation. Put it in the chat box. You should be able to find the chat box. I'm just going to check that you haven't put it in the Q&A box. Okay, so anybody want to have a guess? Are you participating today, or are we just sitting back and waiting? Looks like you're sitting back and waiting. There you go. The D stands for dissatisfaction. Maria, you are absolutely spot on. The D stands for dissatisfaction. Catherine, it's a good guess, not quite right, but it stands for dissatisfaction. So The D is dissatisfaction, the V is vision, and the F is first steps. So this is quite, Maria, you're on it today. You're definitely on it. Yes, so the V stands for vision. So in order to implement any change, there's got to be a level of dissatisfaction with what you're doing at the moment, the position you're in at the moment. And there's a lot of dissatisfaction out there at the moment. But you've also got to have a strong vision for what the change is going to end up looking like. So you've got to have a strong vision or a strong goal for the future in order to be able to implement that change. Because if you're not happy with where you are now, but you've no real strong vision, it's not going to really help you to progress. Likewise, if you've got a strong goal, a strong vision of where you want to be, but you're not really unhappy with where you are now, or you're quite comfortable with where you are now, humans have a propensity to run away from pain and towards pleasure. It's inbuilt into us. So if you're in a comfortable position right now, you're not going to make yourself uncomfortable to move towards that longer term vision, those longer term goals that you've got. And the F stands for first steps. So are you going to take those first steps? What are the first steps? Well, it may be attending this webinar today are your first steps, but it may also be that there's something else that you need to do as a result of this webinar and take those action points and actually implement something. It might be booking a session with your coach. It might be coming along and having a business strategy session with us to look at how you can implement some of the things that we've talked about today. But whatever it is, you've got to have a dissatisfaction with where you are now. You've got to have a strong vision, and then you've got to take those first steps to overcome the resistance that you've got. But the only failure in business is the failure to participate. I just want your permission to be your coach for the next 50 minutes or so. Please take notes. Please participate at 100%. Capture some strategies and ideas that are going to help you to grow your business. This is really, really important. The more you give, the more you get. Give 100%, you'll get 100% back. If you give 90%, then you ain't going to get 100%. You're not even going to get 90% out of it. So the more you participate, the better it's going to be. As I mentioned before, I'm the head coach here at Action Coach and the managing director. I've been coaching for over 30 years, started in a high pressure sports environment as a skydiving instructor and a formation skydiving coach. I've been in sales and marketing all of my business career, working with and for family-owned companies and Fortune 500 companies. I've run a business, and this is my second business as a business owner. We took the first business from a loss-making to a profit-making business, and from 750,000 turnover to 1.4 million turnover in the space of 3.5 years with 12 people on board. My job is to help as many business owners as I can to take those steps to move forward with the business. In that first business, it gave me a lot of empathy for where business owners are right now. It's my first business that I'd run as a business owner. So I've walked in the same uncomfortable shoes as many business owners that we come across. So today we're going to cover two main areas. We're going to cover 12 steps to help you pivot in your marketing. Pivot's an overused word now, but I think it's the most effective word to use. And we're going to look at the most important numbers for your business. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And numbers are the international language of business. So it's really important that you look at the numbers in your business. So the first thing we're going to look at, step one, is to think about your strategy for marketing. Is your strategy mostly inbound or is it outbound? Are you farming or hunting? So outbound is you going out there and hunting for new business. Inbound is farming. It's getting people to come to you. So have a little bit more focus on inbound, but change the way you think about your outbound marketing as well. It needs to be done with compassion, with the customer in mind at all points. And as for marketing to your existing clients, focus on your customer experience. Enhance the benefits of people being loyal to you. Try and move your customers up the ladder of loyalty to become raving fans of your business by making your customer experience second to none. And also maximize the perceived value of what you do as a business. Focus on your core business and make sure that you're delivering maximum value to your clients. Oops, missed a step there. Your messages need to change. you've got, as I mentioned, you've got to reflect the current situation and be sensitive to where people are in their business right now. It's a change from the selling and asking for an order kind of situation to giving help, giving advice. Help and give. The more you give, the more you get. One of the networking groups that I've been involved with in the past have a great phrase, which is givers gain. So the more you give, the more you get back. Make sure that you're empathizing with your clients about their particular situation, and that you're trying to educate them. And you're not always just trying to sell to them, but engage with them as much as you can. Engagement is crucial at this point in time. And as mentioned in the last segment, add value wherever you can. Always look to be maximizing the value that you give, not just to your existing clients, but to your prospects as well. And as Henry Ford said, if it doesn't add value, it's waste. So what are you doing with your marketing and your customer experience to add value? The next step is to look at your website. Look at your content on your website. Do you have a dynamic website? Do you have a website that is a brochure website that never changes? Or are you constantly updating your website? Google loves dynamic websites. It doesn't like stale content. Also, build your SEO via the content that you're putting on there, not through any tips and tricks and backlinks and all this kind of stuff. The Google loves great content that's focused on the keywords and key phrases that you're looking for. The more educational you can make the content, the better. Make sure you've got regular blogs on there or even vlogs. Make sure you're updating it as much as you can. Make sure your tags are correct. Make sure you're putting meta descriptions on everything. Make sure that you've got page titles on there, and make sure that there's no duplications. Make sure that your links are on there to your social media platforms, so you've got cross-fertilization of your platforms. Google My Business, make sure you've got that Google My Business listing, because Google My Business, Google will then look at where you appear on the internet and will start linking back to things. So if you've got a website and you haven't got your social media links on there, Google will find it more difficult to link those and then make them appear on your Google My Business listing. If they are on your website and you're very clear about the tags that you're using and clear about what you're doing across the other social media channels, then Google My Business will put your Facebook and your LinkedIn and your Twitter and your Instagram tags onto your Google My Business listing, so it's more obvious for people looking for them. Don't plagiarize. There's loads of great content out there, but if you see a great idea, rewrite it in your own words. Really important that you don't plagiarize, because Google will spot if it's duplicate content across different websites. And your imagery needs to be fresh as well. Not just standard stock stuff where you can help it, but make it fresh and exciting. Make sure you put those alt tags and alternative text into your images as well, so they can be read and it's not just an image. You can see an alternative text in there as well. So make sure you've got all of that covered in your website. And if you haven't, or make sure you've got a web designer who can help you with that. Make sure whoever's looking after your website, if you can't access it yourself, have a conversation with them about what they can do to help you. You should be in control of your website though. You don't need to do the coding, but make sure you've got a website that's got a content management system on it that makes sure that you can adapt stuff on it. You can add your blogs, or you can add your news articles as well. If we've got any questions that have been going along, just fire them into the chat box. We'll try and answer them as we're going along. And then if you've got any questions at the end, you can fire them to us. Step 4 is to make your content memorable. And one of the things that we use with our clients is just EIEIO. Who remembers the old McDonald's rhyme? Make it entertaining, make it inspiring if you can. Stories are great to get inspiring content. If it's a story about something you've done with one of your clients or within your business, then that's fabulous. Try and make sure it's relatable though to your particular business and to your client's business. Also make sure that it's educational. that people are going to learn something from it, or it's going to prompt them to go and learn something from it. Make sure it's informative. It's actually giving them information that they can use. And importantly, make sure it opens a dialogue. It gives them the opportunity to open a dialogue by having a call to action. So make sure you've got some kind of call to action at the end of your content that allows people to then open a dialogue with you if they should choose to. Now, people often talk to me about blogs and vlogs, and they'll say, well, I can't find something to write about. Catherine's just put whether you missed step 3. No, we did cover step 3. Step 3's there. It's updating your website. Oh, hang on. Updating your website. Did you get that, Catherine? Did you see that? Let me just stick in the web box, in the chat box, sorry. It's taking a little while to come through, Catherine. Yes, there you go. Brilliant. Okay. So step 4 we've just covered. EIEIO, make your content memorable. And then step 5, blogs or vlogs. Do both if you can. Vlogs, video blogs, are becoming more and more popular now. It's really important to make sure that you've got a variety of different content. And if you've got the option to put a video blog onto your website, fantastic. You can record it, upload it to YouTube, put a link onto your website, embed it into your website. Really easy to do nowadays, especially if you've got a decent content management system. You're using something like WordPress or something like that for your website. But your web designer should be able to help you with that as well. Make sure whatever your blog has, or your video blog, have something that's a compelling headline. We often use something called AIDA. So attention. Make sure it really grabs attention. Make sure it's really compelling. I is interest. Make sure you have a compelling first paragraph to really capture that interest. D is desire. Create some desire within your audience. And then A is action. Have a strong call to action at the end of it. So have that compelling first paragraph to create that interest. Make them sound round about 800 to 1500 words. Google likes longer blogs. It likes educational content. Make sure that the key phrases and keywords that you want to be found for are included in your blog. So if whatever you want to be found for, make sure that you're including that, because Google will troll and check your blogs and will start putting your blogs up on the results pages for the keywords and phrases that are found in there. Make sure it's informative, engaging, and make sure it's got some great graphics and images. Infographics are really, really good for blogs. You look at the one on the right hand side of the page here. Pictures paint 1,000 words, so they say. So make sure you've got some really interesting infographics if you can. There's some great tools out there to help you build infographics. And make sure it's got relevant links in there. If you've got a link to another relevant piece of content, make sure that you include it in your blog, but don't just put random links in there. Make sure it's really relevant to what you're doing. Step 6 is to add some videos into your mix. We talked about video blogs before. So have some videos in your mix, whether it's on social media or your website. So if you look at social media platforms, there's more and more video content appearing on there now. Some of it is great, some of it is not so good. Some people are probably overdoing it with content now. You don't have to overdo video content. There is one company, there's that much video on there that I've stopped watching it. So have a good mix of different kinds of content. But as that quote says on there, 52% of marketers name video as the type of content with the best return on investment. So if you do it right, you get more people interested in what you're doing and more people coming to you as a result of that. So, there's a few ideas on here. Record a podcast. Podcasts are a great way to get people interested in what you're doing. Do some interviews. We've done some podcast interviews with people that are now uploaded onto all of the podcast platforms. So, Apple, on iTunes, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts. So they're on every single platform. So people looking for Action Coach Bolton or our Business Extra podcast can find us across those platforms. And we've had half a dozen interviews with great businesses, some with local businesses, some with real business leaders and leaders in their particular area. So get some interviews done, even if it's with other people, if it's with your clients. Get some interviews done with your clients. Podcasts are a great way to get some content out there. Do little daily check-ins or tip talks. Do a little 30-second to 1-minute video just with a little handy hinter tip that you can stick onto your social media platforms. But choose, when we say choose great content over production value, it doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to spend an absolute fortune on equipment and recording and re-recording your content until you get it absolutely right. We're humans, we make mistakes, we stutter, we are. Everybody knows that. So just focus on getting great content and people will understand it. People will understand that it's not perfect. You're not doing it in a some kind of studio. You might be doing it in your spare bedroom at home. I've seen people, and I've done this. When lockdown first started, I did a few Facebook Lives over a period of time, and those Facebook Lives were all done round about 5:30, between 5:15 and 5:30, when I was going out for a walk at the end of the day. And my PA actually christened them Strolls with Paul, strangely. But we got some great engagement through that, just every day going out for a walk up in the hills behind our house and just having a chat to people on Facebook Live about something that had happened in the business or a conversation that I'd had with the clients, naming no names, something that would help people to move forwards with the business, just some educational content. So think about what you can do, make it relevant, vary your lengths. As I said, we've done like 30-second, 1-minute video clips. We've done longer half-hour podcast interviews, all sorts of different things. So make variety is the spice of life. And measure your engagement. Check for when you get best engagement and do things at that time of day or that kind of content, whatever it happens to be. There's some really simple ways of measuring engagement across all the social media platforms. Build on what your customers respond to, not what you particularly like, because sometimes you can get a better response for something that maybe you're not that comfortable talking about, but actually gets better engagement. So it's what your customers respond to, not what you think is important or what you like. Step 7, keep your social media fresh. So, understand that each platform is different in terms of the specific kind of content focuses. Make sure that your content is shareable. This is something I come across quite a lot, particularly on Facebook and in Facebook groups, where you'll get somebody will post something in there, but it's not shareable. You can comment on it, but you can't share it. So make sure that your settings allow you to share that content. Also, make sure you know which platforms require what kind of content. Sometimes you'll get people who share a link, and actually when when you've shared it, you just see a link in there, and you don't actually get an image appearing. So make sure that you're putting content on there in the right way, so you actually get an image and you get the text in there as well. As with your other content on your blogs and everything else, make sure you have a strong call to action. Create some urgency in what you're doing if you can, and focus on quality of what you're doing, not just quantity. Try and get engagement, do get engagement by asking questions. Pose a challenge, put a poll on there, engage with live Q&A sessions, different things like that. There's all sorts of different things you can do to start getting some engagement through your customer base. And then think about which platforms you're actually on, because The 90-10 rule or the 80-20 rule will apply. Most of your engagement will come from one or two platforms. So don't spread yourselves too thinly across every single platform. Work out what's giving you the best engagement and then stick to those platforms and do the majority of your work on those platforms. Test and measure is really important in this. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on, but measuring your progress is really important. So if you're starting off and you're not doing social media now and you're just starting off, then make sure you measure as you're going along so you can see what's working and what doesn't. We're not going to talk about this for too long. There is some people who will say, "Oh, never boost a post, always just do Facebook ads." In terms of getting engagement, then boosting can really, really help as well. You know, we do a lot of Facebook Live work, and when we do a Facebook Live, we always boost it afterwards because it reaches a much wider audience, and we can then take that audience and put it into a custom audience into a Facebook ad. If that sounded like double Dutch to you, then you need to get some help around Facebook and Facebook advertising. Make sure you learn it properly before you start doing it. Don't spend a fortune on Facebook ads when you first start, but set yourselves a budget. Think about your target audience. If you've got a good audience already through your social media, then use that as a custom audience for your Facebook ads. I'm just going to take a quick drink. Make it eye-catching. Add some buttons on there so people have got a call to action and they can actually take some action as a result of it. Link it either to a specific event that you've already got on your platform or back to your website or to a specific landing page. Make sure that the content, the text and the imagery reflect your audience. You know, what kind of audience are you talking to? So make sure that whatever images you've got on there in your Facebook ads are reflective of the audience that you're trying to talk to. Is your imagery speaking Portuguese when your audience is Spanish? You know, you get where I'm coming from with that. But track it regularly. Track it through the Facebook Business Manager or through the Ad Center dashboards that you've got within the different platforms that you're using. We are doing a little bit of work next week in our Growth Club, our 90-day planning session. We're having a session in the afternoon there with our SEO specialist, Phil Collins from SEO Enterprise, who's one of our clients, who's going to do a 45-minute session just on the numbers behind Google ads, Facebook ads, things like that, and looking at the analytics so you understand the numbers and how to track those numbers, because those business dashboards can be quite complex when you first look at them. So it's important that you get some help with that. If you're going to go into Facebook advertising, make sure you speak to an expert who knows what they're talking about to get some help and advice on the best way forward. Now, databases. Databases are like gold dust. If you are not collecting the database of prospects and clients, then start now. Immediately, if not sooner. Databases are like gold dust. So they create multiple opportunities for you. So first of all, your existing clients. How many existing clients do you have? How many clients have you had over the lifetime of your business? So at least over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years in your business, how many clients have you had who've bought from you at least once during that time? Because you should have all those details. And I'm always amazed by how many clients don't actually ask their previous clients to buy from them. Keeping in regular email contact with your clients is absolutely vital. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you're doing it with compassion. Make sure you're doing it with the client in mind. Remember, they listen to a radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Make it about them, not about you. If you read your email shot that you're going to send out and it's got we, and me, rather than you, and your, then you need to rewrite it with the customer in mind. Make sure that you've got multiple places for people to sign up to your emails. Make it multiple opportunities on your website. You know, you can put like us, you use HubSpot. We're a HubSpot solutions provider. If you want to look at HubSpot as a CRM, the HubSpot's free CRM is brilliant. We can provide that for you. You get opportunities to sign people up on forums on your website. So we have a pop-up form that comes up before people leave the website. We have a form on a couple of pages that they can sign up to. We have a little chat box down at the right-hand side of a website where people can sign up through the chat box. So there's multiple opportunities to gather enough customer data to enable you to email them moving forwards. And it's the first step on getting a customer into your sales funnel, into your customer journey, if you will. So, and then it gives you the opportunity to start marketing to them. So take every opportunity you can to get people onto your database. I would say every opportunity. So if you get somebody who you speak to at a networking event, ask them, do you mind if I take your details so I can send you our newsletter? You'll learn much more about what we do. If you're on a one-to-one with somebody, make sure you ask them to make sure you can go on the database. If you're on a networking event, put a message on saying, we'd love everybody to sign up to a newsletter. Here's a link to a landing page to sign up, and give them some kind of lead magnet. So maybe a free ebook, or entry into a competition, or whatever it might be to get people to sign up. Make sure you're using a good platform like HubSpot or MailChimp or one of the other platforms that are available. Clean your database regularly so it's really, really up to date and that you're following the GDPR guidelines. And be really transparent with those privacy practices. Make sure people understand what you are doing and what you're not doing. So you're not crossing any lines with people and people go, oh, I didn't know they were going to do that. Look at, if you're the email preference center, particularly if you're a B2C business, so you're emailing consumers, there is email preference and telephone preference services where people can opt out of receiving emails and telephone calls from marketing emails and telephone calls from people they don't know. So make sure that you're checking those out if you're in a B2C sort of area. How are we getting on? Anybody got any questions? Stick your thumbs up. Put your hands up if you're doing okay and you're taking all this. So is everybody taking notes? You put your hands up if you've got some notes so far. Great. Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Catherine. Brilliant. Okay. So don't forget, if you've got any questions, just stick them into the chat box. Right. So email marketing. Second section on email marketing is just in terms of just some hints and tips on here about content. Get to know your audience. Understanding your target markets, your customer avatars, whatever you want to call them, is really important. Make sure you're getting the right message out to the right market. You can segment your audiences. So you might want to put a different message out to different sections depending on who those audiences are. If you've got different offers for different audiences, then don't send one email out to everybody. Segment your audience and send the right emails out to the right people. Or it might be that you've got different products for different people. So don't talk about the same products or services to everybody. Make them relevant to the actual audiences. Think about the frequency of your emails. Think about the days and the times that you send it. Look at the open rates. Look at the click-through rates that you're getting. Test and measure like we do with everything. Make sure you do adhere to the GDPR Act. There's a few other things on here. I'm not going to go through everything because I'm not into reading slides out to you. But make it clear to people who you are, and make it clear to people what you're looking for, but not in a salesy kind of way, if that makes sense. It's got to be educating them and then encouraging them to take some form of next step. Remember that first slide, dissatisfaction times vision plus first steps. Apply that to your email. Create some dissatisfaction with people, create a strong vision, and then give them some first steps to take through a call to action. If you are doing ads and even mail shots, then you can create some specific landing pages. There's some great tools out there. If you're not creating them on your own website, there's some great landing page tools out there that you can find on the internet to help you create landing pages, specific landing pages away from your website. So if you've got an ad, make sure that the message on your landing page matches your ad. that you're giving people a call to action, what we call above the fold. Now, above the fold comes from when we used to send an A4 mail shot out and fold it over into 3 to fit it in is it a DL envelope? So there would always be a call to action above that first fold, so people didn't need to unfold the page to see what the call to action was. Now, when we say above the fold, we mean before people need to scroll down the page. So make sure you've got a strong call to action before people need to scroll. If you can, show your products or your service in action. Show a case study on there. Show a recommendation. Social proof is really important. Your credibility is really important. So if you're able to show case studies and referrals, that's really, really important. Use clear, compelling copy. We talked about AIDA earlier on. And make sure it's designed for mobile-friendly access. The vast majority of people nowadays, if they get a mail shot, they'll look at it on the phone or the tablet and they'll click through to something. So make sure that wherever your landing page is and all of your websites, make sure that it's mobile-friendly. The number of times I come across websites which are still designed with desktops in mind and not designed with mobiles in mind is incredible. There's a higher percentage of people look at stuff on the mobiles and tablets than look at it on desktops nowadays. Test and measure. We keep coming back to this, but it's vitally important. How do you know what works if you're not measuring it? So keep your key numbers, your key KPIs, key performance indicators measured, and check how you're getting on with those on a regular basis so you can see what works and what doesn't. Now, Google AdWords. Make sure you get some expert help with your Google AdWords. You know, we're going to give you some hints and tips on here about how to use Google AdWords, but make sure you get lots of learning if you're going to do it yourself, or get some expert help to do this, because it can be a money pit if you're not careful. But just some simple tips around Google AdWords. Make sure that you set up correctly on there, that you've got your budget for each campaign based on client needs. Make sure that you're connected with Google Analytics, that your time zones and currencies are set up correctly. Make sure that you're tightly focused with your keywords as well, that you're using no more than 5 to 10 keywords in your Google AdWords campaign. Google AdWords, for those who don't know, the adverts that appear at the top of your Google search results. So if you Google a word or a key phrase, then if your key phrase that you've put into your Google AdWords is there and you're bidding correctly, then you will appear in those search results at the top. A few other hints and tips on Google AdWords. Focus on conversions. Smart bidding is really important. If you're doing CPC bidding, focus on clicks with CPC bidding. And look at impressions as well. Focus on impressions. So look, this may sound like double Dutch if you don't use Google AdWords. Really important to get some expert help. We haven't got time to go into it in detail today. There are some great companies out there who can offer some really good help. If anything else, go to Google Garage. Start with Google Garage, get some free help, free advice, free training from Google Garage, and then work on it from there. But don't just dive into it without make sure you get enough learning to be able to do it effectively. Okay, I'm not going to say any more on Google AdWords because it's important for you to get that learning. So the second part of this presentation, this webinar, is about numbers. It's about knowing the most important numbers for you in your business and in your marketing. Most business owners know how many customers they have. Most business owners know what their revenue, what their turnover is, and most business owners know how much profit they make. But those are only the results of doing other things in your business. So we're just going to show you very quickly some simple areas that you can look at in terms of particular numbers that you need to test and measure in your business. We're going to use an imaginary company to do this. So we're going to put in some imaginary numbers. So first of all, your lead generation. Particularly important to look at how many lead generation strategies you have and to split those out and to ask every new person who makes an inquiry of your business, how did you first come to hear about us? So you have an accurate idea of where your leads are coming from. So this is a business that gets around about 4,000 leads a year. Their conversion rate is 25%. So if leads, number of leads is marketing, conversion rate is sales. So how many of those are you converting into clients? That gives you a number of customers. And then how many times do those customers transact with you on average over the year? What's your average invoice value? What's your average sale value? And that gives you a revenue. So if you've got 1,000 customers, on average, they spend twice a year with you. Some will be more, some will be less. And on average, you spend £100. Some invoices will be more, some will be less. That gives you £200,000 of turnover. If your gross profit margin is 25%, that gives you a profit of £50,000. So that should make sense to everybody. You can do this with your own numbers in your business if you're measuring them right now. If you're not, then I would encourage you to start measuring in each of those 5 areas in blue: number of leads, your conversion rate, your average number of transactions, average sale and profit margin. Make sure you start recording those numbers on a sheet of paper up on your wall. The more visible it is, the better. Think about what would happen if you got a 10% increase across each of these areas. So lead generation, each of these areas, as a coach, what we do is with you as clients, we focus on looking at what works, doing more of what works, doing less of what doesn't work. That will naturally get you an increase in the number of leads you're getting. And the same across each of these areas. But if you're not measuring it to start with, we don't know what's working and what isn't. So that's why it's important to start measuring it. And then we might add a new strategy in here and there. We've got 285 strategies across these 5 areas. So add one new strategy at a time to help you improve. So if you can get just a 10% increase in each of these areas, look what happens to your business. Number of leads goes up from 4,000 to 4,400. If you work hard, you run your conversion rate. Think about when was the last time you got any sales training, overcoming objections, asking great questions, closing effectively. We've got our Growth Club, our 90-day planning session next week. We've got Andy Bounds, who's been voted Britain's #1 sales trainer, doing a webinar specifically for our clients. So if you want to come along to that, give us a shout. We can book you into our Growth Club. It's a paid for event, but we've got some special deals on that we'll tell you about. Brilliant sales trainer. So think about your conversion rate and how you can convert more clients. Think about your sales process. How do you get people into the funnel? Each step of that sales process, how can you improve each step? If you can do that, work on what works, do less of what doesn't, improve your conversion rate by 10%, that already gives you 1,210 customers. If then you can get people to buy more often from you and you can increase your average sale value, that will have a drastic impact on your revenue. So how do you get people to buy more often from you to increase the average number of transactions? Well, ask them. Put those databases into place and start doing mail shots to your existing clients once a month, once a quarter, even at the very least. Make sure that you're asking them to buy again from you. Make sure they know about everything that you do. The number of times we have clients who come to us and say, well, you know, we've got a signage company that we work with, and when we first started working with them, one of his frustrations was this. He did great signs for people, great shop fascias and internal windows and all these kind of things for people, and vans signage. And then he'd say, I'll be driving past the shop a few weeks later, and they'd have an A board or a banner or something outside the shop that they'd bought that we hadn't supplied to them. And he'd get really frustrated. I said, well, have you told them about everything that you do? And he'd say, well, it's obvious, isn't it? It's obvious. We're a signage company. Of course we do that. Yeah, but have you told them you do that? No, but it's common sense. We're a signage company. Of course we do that. But he hadn't actually told them. And when he actually spoke to them about it, he said, oh, sorry, we didn't realize you did that. So do your customers know everything that you do? So if you can increase the average number of transactions and then increase your average sale value, the simplest way to increase your average sale value is to increase your prices. Whenever we do this, clients across the board always tell us that 95% of the customers say nothing. The 5% who do complain about everything. They're the time vampires who take all your time, who pay late, all those kind of things. The customers, if you had a choice, you'd rather not deal with them. So increasing your price is just one way out of 50 or 60 different strategies we've got to help you increase your average sale value. If you can do all that, then that makes your revenue £292,820. That's 46% increase in your revenue. Working on those 4 areas is going to help you increase your gross profit, but then there are other things you can do, like focusing on the higher gross profit margin items in your business, negotiating with your suppliers, lots of different things. So if you can increase your gross profit margin by 10%, that gives you a profit of £50,000 to £80,000, £80,525. That's a 61% increase in your gross profit. So if, for me, 46% increase in your revenue, 61% in your gross profit, who wouldn't want those kind of profits? For fun, let's have a look at what would happen if you got 100% increase across each of these areas. Look at these numbers. That gives you a revenue of £3.2 million and a profit of £1.6 million. That's a 10% to 100% increase. If you do this consistently, if you get a 10% increase in each of those areas consistently over the next 5 to 7 years, those are the kind of numbers that you'll be getting. 3.2 million in revenue, 1.6 million in turnover. That's consistency, testing and measuring, doing more of what works, less of what doesn't, and implementing 1 or 2 new strategies at a time. Maria's got a question for us, which I'll come back to, Maria. It's a great question. Just bear with me and we'll come back to you on that at the end. A couple of other quick things to bear in mind. Your more sustainable competitive advantage in your business is your team. And in a team, in any business, you've got the owner of the business, you've got your team, you've got your customers, and you've got the actual business. Now, what we see a lot is when we first start working with people, the owner looks after the team, the owner also looks after the customers, and the owner also looks after the business. You're involved in all 3. But there's a virtuous circle that you can form. If you create a great team, the team will look after your customers. You don't need to. Your team will look after the customers. They'll turn them into raving fans of your business, getting more referrals, spending more and spending more profitably. The customers in turn will look after the business because they're spending more money and making you more profit. And the business will look after you. So make sure that you're building towards having a great team who can look after your customers, who can then look after the business for you. Team is absolutely vital in every area. So that's just about it. I'm going to put a little feedback form into the, when I can find it. So I'll put a link to a feedback form into the chat box now. Maria, you asked, when it comes to posting content on social media, LinkedIn and Twitter, is sending out an email bulletin. Are there specific times and days where you're likely to get more engagement from your audience? Are there specific times to avoid when posting, as people might be less likely to see your posts then, i.e. after 5 p.m. on a Friday? Yes, well, if you think about LinkedIn, we've got some results actually from LinkedIn themselves, and they say the best days to post are Tuesday followed by Thursday followed by Wednesday, and the best times to post are around about 7 a.m. to 7:30 when people are first getting up, because for some reason people always pick up the phone first. Around the end of lunchtime, just as you're coming towards the end of lunchtime. Mid-morning around 11 o'clock, there's a little spike where people are taking a coffee break in the morning. And strangely enough, if you're aiming at business owners, at senior executives, a lot of business owners will be looking at LinkedIn after 9 o'clock in the evening and on a weekend, which traditionally you wouldn't think that that's a great time to post. But the best way to find out is to actually post and see what works for you. See what works for your target market. I don't know what your target market is, Maria, without talking to you in detail. Facebook is pretty similar in terms of posting times. But you can get, if you're doing mail shops, you're using HubSpot or MailChimp or something like that, you can get some great analysis of when people open you, what time people and when people open your mail shots. So I would say test and measure. Like everything that we do, test and measure, see what works, do one at one time, then do one at a different time. So keep testing what works and what doesn't. There are other things that will also dictate what your open rate and your click-through rate are. Things like the headline that you use, the subject title that you use in your mail shot, and the opening couple of lines that people will see as a will see depending on the email client they've got. You might see the first couple of lines that you can put in there, so you can put specifics in there in terms of what you want people to see. So that might improve your click-through rate. If you're just starting to use MailChimp or HubSpot, make sure that you get your domain verified. So the email address that it's sending from is just actually your email address rather than Maria at HubSpot -this -that. Because if you don't have your domain verified, quite often those emails will end up in spam or junk as well. Does that answer your question, Maria? You can just give us a hands up or a yes in the chat box. That'd be great. Any other questions from anybody? So the link to our feedback form is in the chat box now. I would really appreciate it if you could all fill that in. On there is a question that allows you to apply for your business strategy session. If you want some more help around some of the stuff we've talked about today, and you want to have a business strategy session, they are complimentary. We will focus on you and your business. And what we'll also do is apply those numbers from that imaginary company. We'll apply your own numbers from your own business into those same equations and show you what could happen with your business, not just in the first 12 months, but what could happen to your business over the next 5 years if you're consistently testing and measuring and making those small steps improvements. Remember, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So what are the first steps that you're going to take today? So I did say that we finished by asking you what your action points were. We've got 3 or 4 minutes left. So what I'd like you to do is just have a look through any notes that you've taken today, any BFOs that you've had, any blinding flashes of the obvious, then just put those into the chat box. If you've got an action point, please have a look through your notes, write down an action point that you're going to take some action about. We're called Action Coach for a reason, because the only way that you'll make an improvement and a change to your business is to take some action. So what are you going to do as a result of coming on this webinar today? If that's booking a complimentary business strategy session, then put that in the box. If you're going to take some other kind of action, then put that in the chat box as well. I'd just like to know what you've got out of today's session. So come on, guys, we've got a few people still on the call. What have you got out of today's session? What are you going to do differently? What have you learned? What are you going to take action on as a result of us talking for the last hour or so? So design a forum to gain feedback from people attending presentations and webinars. Great one, Catherine. Remember AIDA and cleanse your database. Yep, always have a clean database. So really important to moving forwards with your business. Make sure that you're segmenting your database, putting them into different lists or segments as well. So a couple of people still to come back. Maria, update the website, add a chat box, pop-up forums, explore our database. Great. Depends which tool you're using for your CRM. HubSpot's absolutely brilliant at helping you with putting forms onto your website. You can do the same with MailChimp. And putting those chat boxes, those instant chat boxes on your website as well. I always extol the virtues of HubSpot. We use it as a business ourselves. Plus we we are a HubSpot solutions provider as well, so I have got a vested interest. But the clients of ours who are using HubSpot are using the free version anyway, so we don't earn anything from it. It's a really useful tool to help our clients move forward. If you do want to talk about HubSpot with us, then I'm more than happy to spend 20 minutes or half an hour talking to you. If you want to drop us a line to bolton@actioncoach.com, then I'm quite happy to book in 20 minutes for half an hour with you talking about HubSpot. Any recommendations on social media scheduling tools such as Hootsuite? Well, you've just answered your own question there, Sue. Hootsuite is absolutely great for scheduling. There are a number of other platforms out there. To be honest, I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but if you ask 10 people, you'll probably get 10 different platforms. So the best thing you can do is we use Hootsuite, so that'd be my reference of choice. Lisa's just put in she uses MeetEdgar for social media tools. ThingBuffer is another one. Yeah, so I've never heard of ThingBuffer actually, Lisa. That's a new one on me. I've heard of MeetEdgar. So there's lots of different tools out there, Sue. ThinkBuffer, that's better. Yeah, Hootsuite we find it fab for what we need. We use the Twitter tool as well, which I don't use it personally. My team use it. TweetDeck we've used before for Twitter as well, which helps us. But there are loads of different ones out there. Google, ask your friends, lots of different opportunities. Yeah, I don't know. We don't post often enough on Instagram, Sue, to be able to answer that question. So I don't know the answer to that. I'll make some inquiries and see if I can find out for you. And if I do, I'll come back to you. We've got a couple of experts who I can ask, so I will ask that question. You're welcome. Right, we're going to finish there. Has everybody had the opportunity to just click on that link to fill in the feedback form? That'd be great if you haven't. There's the link again for you. It's been a real pleasure having you all on the webinar for the last hour. If you do have any questions, then feel free to drop us a line at bolton@actioncoach.com. We'll send you an email later on with a link to the recording. And then we look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to hearing your feedback when we have a look at the feedback forms later on. Have a brilliant end to your Wednesday. Have a brilliant second half of the week. And may I be the first to wish you all a Merry Christmas. It's December already, everybody. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.